All right, so I got the game pulled up real quick.
Yes.
Um, um, so okay. All right. So the first thing I'm gonna go over here
Yeah.
is we're gonna take a look at your OPGG, just kind of see if we can get any trends of anything that we know
Okay.
is going wrong,
Okay.
just in general before looking at the game.
Sure.
And do you want to look at all your champs or just Zed or just Zed
Um,
mainly or?
Z main. I play Z main because I love him to play the playstyle in general because also I played other games and everything with stealth assassin like this. That's why I'm playing
Mm-hmm.
most of all Z.
Okay. So one of the first things I notice is
Yes.
farm.
Okay.
You're I cannot type.
Is the farm bad?
Yeah, your CS is really low most games. So
You say
like
well or bad?
pretty bad.
Pretty bad.
Like
Okay.
3.1, 5.3, 5.9 isn't bad. 4.3, 4.9, 3.8, 4.6, 4.4, 5. Like
Uh, And which number should it be always in
it depends on
general?
the game, but like if you look at my OPGG right now, I'm averaging 7. There's 5.4, so that's pretty low. 6.9, 5.1, which is low. 6.6, 8.2, 7.7, 7.1. That was support.
So, for
6.
example, then in 10 minutes, 100 CS or something like that, or
Um, I would say try to get at least 6 per game if you can.
six
6 CS per minute. So at 10
per
minutes,
minute. Okay.
60. If you're at 20 minutes, try to have at least 120, I believe it is. But obviously, it depends on some games. You're gonna have less CS than others. But
Okay. So, for example, then in the 20 minutes, 200 or 150?
so 200 CS times 6 per minute, zero point
What?
0.6. So 120.
120 then. Okay. Okay.
So try to get 120. Like just at the end of every game, it'll show you on OPGG how much farm you had per minute. Try to get
Yeah.
at least 6. Obviously, you want to have as much as possible, but that's the biggest thing I noticed first is your farm
It's
looks
really
really
bad.
bad.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah, I mean, in the laning phase, I think I can good farm, but then when it's over the laning phase, then it's
yeah,
complicated, and I don't know exactly when I should farm or try to help the team or try to pick some kills. That is, would say, is my also the problem. Maybe if the
yeah,
farm must be better, if you say,
yeah. Because that's one of the things that you can control your laning phase, you can control your mid game, you can control your farm every game. You can't control your teammates, but you can control how well you farm, and your farm is pretty bad, all things
Okay.
considered. It's not
Yeah.
awful. It could be worse, obviously, but
Yeah.
if you can if you can double this to 6, you
Okay.
you would get a lot more gold and you'd be a lot more consistent, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. I understand
Because
what you
it's
mean.
it's just free gold that you're missing out on.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So, um, what do you think your biggest?
Issue.
Yeah.
Um, I would say maybe when the laning phase is over and I try to get them in the jungle or try some make some picks. Um, the problem is they are always with the support, the ADCs, for example, or other champs, and I can't kill them, the ADC or the other champ, because they are always not alone. And yeah, this is the most difficulty for me to make the picks if they are always not alone. And if my teammates are feeding,
Yeah.
yeah, I have most of all the time. I could say I have difficult opponents that I cannot kill easily. For example, Akali or Echo,
Mm-hmm.
like these champions, and I cannot kill them. I stay in the lane. They push the lanes, and I must then make farm or get CS, and I can't follow them right away because I must first of all clear the wave, I think, and then they go bot. I um I of course informed bot that Echo, for example, comes to bot and wants to get them, but they don't hear it, my pings, and they get killed. And so Echo will then, for example, then be feeded, and I don't know what I can do else more.
Yeah. So you're saying that you're most likely your biggest problem is that you can't make picks in the mid game once the laning phase is over, and you don't
Right.
really know how to side lane after the macro after the laning phase is over.
Yeah, I think I know how, but
You have trouble
yeah,
doing it.
it's yeah, right.
Yeah, and then you have trouble translating your team to your team if
I would say I have really bad problems or difficulties to carry my team. If
yeah.
the other um, bot lane, for example, is already feeded, I don't know how to kill them because the bot lane from them have always a CC or something else. That yeah.
So that would be trouble with flanks and okay. Um, well, my just considering right now, you're pretty new to the game. I'm guessing you're level 51.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, just since you are still only bronze, I think the most important thing to focus on is the laning phase for you.
Yeah.
Just because the mid game for every game is going to be extremely different, if that makes sense to you. So if you're playing Zed, your laning phase is going to be fairly similar no matter what the enemy team is like and what your team is like, because you're just going to be farming, playing with your jungler a little, or trying not to get ganked. But overall, you're just kind of farming for the first 10, 15, 20 minutes, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Whereas after that, one game, mid game, late game is going to be completely different to another game, because what if their team might have very tanky team with a lot of crowd control one game, and the next
Right.
game they might not. So I think it's more important right now for you to focus, rather than on this stuff, to really focus on your laning phase and getting it consistent.
Yeah.
Consistently playing well. So just with that, when you're loading into a game, what do you usually think of?
Yeah, I think
So
if they...
we'll go to this game in particular.
Yeah.
The
Yeah. They look always if they have most tanks or more CC and something like that, and which items I should buy against them. That is what I'm thinking. Loading screen.
Okay. Okay. So generally what I would think about in this lane is, especially on Zed, I like to think of the 2v2 with the jungler. If that makes sense. So I'm thinking, what is my 1v1? What does the Zed versus Yone matchup look like? And then
Yeah.
what is the enemy's jungle pressure on ganking either me or invading my jungler?
Mm-hmm.
So I would say
And how would you know it? If the jungler would gank you or...
so you can't know for sure. You can't say, oh yes, I know exactly that because this is Graves, he's gonna gank me at 3 minutes or whatever, right?
Right.
But what you can do is you can figure out Graves likes to full clear the jungle, right?
I think so.
So this just comes with playing the game a lot more. You kind of have to play a lot in order to understand this. So with So this is kind of the stuff that you should think about is Graves likes to full clear the jungle, so does Mundo, right?
Yeah.
I think I might be wrong, but I think there's a very high likelihood this Graves will also invade the Mundo because Mundo is very weak in his first clear and Graves has a very strong level 2, level 3.
Yeah.
And I think it's very possible that Graves will try to invade the Mundo. See, Mundo even dies here to the jungle camps, which is kind of unfortunate for you, but like 320, so Graves could have invaded there too. But you just be aware that Graves will likely I'm gonna rephrase that. So like you think about Graves will likely not gank until after killing the crab, right? Just because he's a full clear jungler. Whereas if this was a Lee Sin instead, right?
Yeah.
Lee Sin is kind of notorious for he'll kill red, blue, Gromp, and then go for a gank.
Yeah.
If you're playing against Shaco or Xin Zhao, they'll do red buff and then come mid and gank you level 2.
Okay.
Right? So it just depends. Just think about that in the loading screen a little bit. Just since you're still kind of a little bit, since you're still only bronze, well, once you start to climb up, there's more to think about, but just starting getting you in the thought about what's the 2v2 look like, and then what does the mid lane matchup look like. So we know that Yone will have more sustain in the lane than Zed.
Right.
But Zed is a lot stronger.
Right? Yeah. Okay.
You can poke him with Q,
VE.
Q, EW, what WEQ. You can Q
That-
auto early if he goes for minions.
Yeah.
And just, you can play aggressive level 1 to 2.
Yeah. Okay.
You can play around his shield a little bit. But basically the thing to... Do you get prio? Do you get priority in this lane? Right?
No, I didn't get it.
So why is
He
that?
was.
Because if you play
Why?
this lane
Yeah.
correctly, Zed is a better champion early on and should win lane against Yone.
You think so?
Yeah,
Okay.
100%.
Okay. Then yeah.
Like, Yone is definitely a very... I hate the champion. I think he's way too strong, but Zed does beat him in lane for sure.
Then yeah. I don't know what I did wrong then.
Yeah, so we can go over the lane, but just try to have a game plan. And
Yeah.
okay, so my biggest thing that I like to say when I'm coaching is you need to play proactively instead of reactively. That makes sense, right?
Right.
So you want to think about, what am I going to do in this laning phase? If before you roam, you want to think to yourself, should I go for a roam here? Why? Instead of just mindlessly saying, oh, the Yone roamed, I'm just going to follow him. You should think about, why are you doing this?
Yeah.
And the most important thing is thinking about what you're doing. Thinking about what you're doing. Like, did it go well? Did the roam go well? And why? Like, why did I die to the gank? Did I not ward? Was I pushed up when I should frozen the wave? You know, these are just the questions you need to kind of figure out for yourself. You should try to ask, why did I die? Did I not ward? Was I pushed up when I should have frozen the wave?
Yeah.
So these are just the most important things you should be thinking about, I think, right now. Just because you are level, you're still pretty new to the game, all things considered. You know, a lot of it you're going to learn as you play the game more.
Yeah.
One second, sorry. Okay. So now that we've kind of talked a little bit about what you should be thinking about in the game, and we'll go in and just watch the replay.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna load it up. So we'll jump to about when minions meet. So first thing I notice, right, is remember when I said that Zed is fairly strong compared to Yone early?
Yeah.
You're still there? Yeah. And you can play aggressive level 1 to 2, and you need to play around his shield. You kind of do that.
I tried.
So
Okay.
this is one of the first things I notice is, you know how I
Yeah.
said that Zed wins? Zed wins if he's... You can stand here. If you're doing that, you can send him a Q there. You can auto the minions, and you can push into him. And I can already tell the reason that you are going to lose this lane is because you're playing very respectfully of Yone when he doesn't have the damage you have. He went Conqueror instead of Fleet. Right?
Yeah.
So he has less sustain than he would otherwise. Let's see if he went... And he went Taste of Blood, which gives him a little extra healing with Ravenous Hunter, but he doesn't have the shield. Whatever that rune is. I can't recall the name, but right now you should be up here. Against most melee mids, you can play very aggressive and push the wave level 1. The only one that I would say that you probably can't is Akali.
Yeah, and if the jungler ganks, I mean, it's not so...
Yeah, but Graves probably won't level 2 gank you.
Right.
We already... That goes back into the... When will the jungler gank? You can kind of predict that he's gonna full clear. He could. And again, Graves doesn't have the best gank. You just might have to get take a little bit of damage. But you have health pot, so it's not the end of the world. But you should really be playing more aggressive. See the way you let him auto the wave a lot before you were even showing lane. So it's pushing into you. At this point, it's already going to be a harder lane because Zed wins this because he can push into Yone and poke him with Qs. But now that you can't auto him at this point, it's very hard. You haven't autoed the minion wave once.
Right.
Because, you know, against a ranged champion, if you're playing Zed against Syndra, if this is Syndra here, this is her attack range or whatever. You know, Orianna, you want to stay back and just Q the wave to get minions because when you're level 1, you don't have the damage.
Yeah.
But Zed wins this level 1 against Yone if he gets the push.
So you mean the lane is already harder for me to win?
Yeah.
Because did not started to Q him, right? Right away.
Yeah.
Okay, I understand.
Because you were passive level 1 here when you don't need to be.
Okay.
So... And again, you still haven't used your Q. You're running Scorch, which is a really good ability to help you win lane because if you hit your Q, not only does it do damage, it burns him a little bit to do more. You're an energy champion. It doesn't hurt too much to use your Q and miss. But okay, so you finally did it. Also, notice how there... I'm going to go back very slightly. This is kind of a small thing. But... So... I'll go back slightly further. You want to go for a trade. You want to use your Q when he's going for a minion, right? So you see right now, this minion is getting low, right?
Right.
Which means that when it gets to around here, that much health, he's going to try to auto it to get the creep, right?
Yeah.
So if instead of standing way back here, which we already kind of discussed that you should play more aggressive in this scenario, but let's say you don't know that, which is fine. You're still kind of new to the game. You're still trying to figure this out and figure out the matchups and what to do. But if you are going to play back, you can still play here. When he goes for that minion, notice how when he autos, he's going to stand still for a second, right?
Yeah.
When he's doing that, you can just throw your Q and it's guaranteed to hit him. Because he's...
Okay.
You can go for your trade.
What would you say? Is it more important to trade or get the minions?
Generally to get the minions, but right now, notice how this Q is a great Q to go for because that is 400 health, that is 400 health, that's 400 health. You're not going to miss anything by going for this Q because your Q will be up by the... your Q will be up in 6 seconds by the time any of these are low that you'll need to farm them. And on top of them, we've already kind of established Zed does better 1v1 at level 1 than Yone. Therefore, you can auto the minions if you're playing aggressive. But this is just kind of to show you that you can go for your... You should be going for the Q when he's going for minions.
Okay.
And again, this minion is going to get low soon, so he's going to go for it. Right?
Yeah.
So right now, I'd recommend...
Yeah.
I'd recommend autoing because we don't want him to just shove this into tower too fast. So I'd recommend autoing this one a little bit, and when you see that he's going to go and auto this one, shoot him with a Q.
But in this case, Yone has his skill where he dashes forwards and brings me up. Should I not try to avoid this?
You can avoid it by... What I like to do when I'm against something like that is to move my mouse up and down and try to dodge it. So he's probably just going to go straight there with the ability, right?
Right.
So that's his Q. So it's his third Q that does that and has the ability that goes forward, right?
Right.
So I'll make you yellow. Or I'll make you blue since you're blue. So if you're standing here and you're walking forward... And you think, and you can see that he's going to have you can kind of see what they're thinking, right? If you were Yone, what would you do? If you're walking here this way, you would think Yone is like, oh, cool, this is a great opportunity. I can go for the minion and I can go for the Zed and try to get a good little quick trade-off, right?
Right.
If you instead just start walking up, you can juke his ability a little bit. If you just kind of walk, if you go with like this with your mouse, where you just click, up, down, up, down, up, down. He also can't tell exactly where you're gonna go, and it becomes a lot harder for him to miss it if you have very unpredictable patterns with walk. If you walk like that up, obviously that's very dramatic, and it's harder to show with drawing lines than actually playing it. Let's see. He uses it there. And so he doesn't go for you. But you also haven't even hit the minion wave once yet. So right here. Again, I think you should go... let's go down a little bit. So Yone's going to go for this minion here, right?
Right.
Or let's do it in a different color. Yone's going to go for this minion here. What if you're standing here? You can go for a Q and an auto.
Into minion?
You know, he's gonna go for this minion here, right?
Yeah.
But, oopsies. There we go. If you're standing right here, if you're positioned right here, and he still decides to go for this minion, then he'll auto. What he will do is auto. he'll auto the minion, right? Sorry
Right.
for horrible spelling, but
All good.
and whatever, but so, and you can get a Q and an auto off on him. So what that does is you do, let's say, you do 130 damage to him with a Q auto when he's going for the minion, right? And you'll take nothing. It seems very small this one time to do it, but I guarantee you this isn't the only time in the lane. In the next 2 minutes, what if there are 3 opportunities to do that and you don't take any of that? That would add up to over 400 damage.
Okay, so you say instead staying upwards, I should stay right for the minion, right?
You know, this minion is getting low, so you do need to consider that, which is what I think you're doing here. But also, he has way more minions attacking your minions. And there's only one minion attacking this. I would say be more aware that your minion's about to die. You can go for a quick trade while your minion's about to die, is what I'm trying to say.
So you mean when he has more minions, I should then prefer to trade?
I'm not talking about the number of minions. I'm talking about how low they are.
How low they are.
Let me just write this out, and then I think I can explain it a little bit better for you that way.
Okay.
So when the enemy is trying to farm, meaning your minions are low on HP, you should often, but not always, go for a quick trade. So what I mean by that is, notice how your minion is low?
Yeah.
You can go for a quick trade on him. I will go over the things that could happen from this trade. 1, you one option is that you damage the Yone with your Q auto, he gets the farm, right?
Yeah.
Option 2. You can zone him from the farm, right? So what that means is because you're walking up here, he gets scared and doesn't want to take damage from you, so he just misses the farm, right? And he just decides that I don't want to, he's playing very aggressively, I don't want to do that, right?
Yeah.
So that's another option. We'll say option 3, he gets kind of worried, and you damage him, so that means here, that way you can read it a little bit better. You go for a position here, and Yone decides that, oh crap, why is he posturing aggressively? He gets kind of freaked out, gets a little bit antsy about it. You know, you worry him. He's like, why is he playing so aggressive? And not only does he decide that, you know what, I can't go for the minion, he gets a little bit indecisive about it, and then you can get a Q on him as well. So not only do you stop him from getting the farm, you can also hit him with your Q. Right?
Yeah.
And then another one, which is also very likely, is Yone trades back. which is what will happen a lot in bronze, silver elo, is that when you're walking up here, Yone will just completely forget about the minion and will attack you. Right?
Yeah.
Meaning he goes for a trade, so you go for a Q auto trade, he goes for a Q auto trade too. But that means he misses the minion. So, we'll look at the 4 options. There's probably some other slight variations, but in general, these are going to be the options. We'll look at number 1. And we'll look at number 5 as well. Play back. Give. Farm for free. Right? Because this is what you did. You played back and you let him go for the farm for free. Right?
Yeah.
Let me just erase that line there. So, you damage Yone. We'll just talk about what is good and what is bad here. So, going over option 1, you get to damage Yone, but he gets the CS. If you ask me, that sounds just like option 5, but you get some damage off on him. So that sounds like a good option, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let's do this in yellow, actually, just so we can have a little contrast. You zone Yone from the farm. You don't damage him, right?
Yeah.
You know, that doesn't sound bad either, because yes, you don't get to damage him, but you still stop him from getting the farm. So that sounds like it's still going to be better than the first option, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we'll put a check mark next to that to say that, you know, he doesn't get the farm, and yes, you don't get to damage him, but he at least doesn't get the farm, right? And again, 1 farm doesn't mean much, but if you can, over the course of, do this 10 times in the game, 20 times in the game, it adds up a lot. It's the sum of a lot of small things that add up to something big. Because 1 farm, that's 15 gold. But if you do it 15 times, that's 200, 300 gold.
Yeah.
Then you could also get damage to him, and instead of being full health, he might be here, which at level 6, that's the difference between being able to all in him with R and killing him and not.
Right.
So let's go over option 3. You damage Yone and you zone him from the farm. That sounds like the best outcome, because you want to damage him and zone him from the farm. You want to play very aggressive, but you also don't want to play overly aggressive and make mistakes. Because if you play too aggressive, you might get hit by tower shots, you might get ganked, you might you also I remember you noting that you want to fight when they have more minions, which that's not true, because if you play up here, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 minions that would be attacking you. And if 5 minions attack you, let's say 3 times each, right?
Yeah.
And they each do, let's say, 10 damage per attack. I'm just making that number off my ass. But that's 30 damage here from each minion, times 5 minions. That's 150 damage you take from the minions, right?
Yeah.
So, and again, the minion has 24 AD, so it's even more than that. But you have armor, so we'll say it's 15. But, so you don't necessarily want to fight in their minions, but you can definitely attack him with your Q, because he's walking up to your minions, and you won't get hit by these minions if you're standing here and hit him. But if you're standing here and hit Yone, the minions are going to start attacking you. That makes sense, right?
Right.
Okay. So we've decided that if you can damage Yone, and on top of that, zone him from the farm, that is the best outcome. Number 4, Yone trades back, gives up farm. This one is a questionable, and it depends on the matchup. And when I say matchup dependent is, will you win this trade? if you go for an auto Q and he goes for the same trade back. It really depends on the matchup. And against Yone, I think you do win it. Especially because you have extra sustain because you have refillable potion and he only has one. And he didn't go for fleet, he went Conqueror.
Yeah.
Whereas again, if you're playing against something like a Malphite, his Q auto might win with Comet, right? So it depends on matchup if you decide this one's worth it. But in this matchup, I think it's a good option to go for this option number 4. And then option 5, play back and give him the farm for free. That's just a very bad option to go for, right?
Yeah.
And again, it seems very small, but if you do it over the course of 5-10 times in the lane before you reset, they get a lot more farm for free. They take less damage. They'll be a lot less pressured from you if you don't do this. So it really adds up. So this is something that's very important for you to think about when you're trading. Really, the thing I would emphasize here is you want to trade when the enemy is going for farm and when your minions are low on HP, right?
Yeah.
So we'll keep watching and see. You get a Q on him and he gets an auto back.
Yeah.
But do you think it's possible for you to auto him there too?
I think not.
I think so. Because right here, you do a Q to him. He hasn't started his animation yet. Right now, you're still in your Q animation, but you can go and Q auto him because he's going to auto you back, right?
Yeah, he could also give me a Q, right?
Well, he Q'd the minions, so it's still on cooldown.
Ah, right, yeah.
So, and I mean, if he's able to auto you, who's to say he can't auto Q you anyway? So he's going to hit his auto on you, and if he has Q up, he's going to be able to Q you regardless.
Yeah.
That makes sense, right? He goes for this auto. You might as well go for an auto back, is what I'm trying to say.
Right.
So right here, that one you're going to miss if you don't Q it. But yeah, you don't get it. But see what I mean by now when he gets to push you under tower, it's a lot harder for you to play the lane, because ideally on the second wave he shouldn't be able to crash the first wave. No one should ever be able to crash the first wave in a melee versus melee, really. But the lane should probably be around here with you pushing into him. But again, there's no reason for you to be playing so far back. This goes back to just before the game, figure out what's the mid-lane matchup like. Do you get priority early? When do you win the fights, right?
Yeah.
So now he gets level 2, so you do have to respect that because he got level 2 before you. But the reason he gets level 2 before you is because you played so back so early. You take a Q there for no reason. That minion's gonna maybe die. I don't know. A little lucky. That's a little lucky and unlucky.
Executed.
So you're up to 10 farm. You're still beating him in farm, which is good at least, but that's more because the Yone missed a lot of farm rather than you farming. There's no reason when he gets to free farm like this. See, that was a nice try, but right there, when that minion was low, you can go for the minion and get the Q on him, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which it looked like that's what you were trying to do. Let me just go back real quick. But 230, we'll go to 228. So you see the minion there is getting low. And you notice that he's starting to walk up.
Yeah.
You can go for a Q from here, a cheeky little Q, because the reason you know he's going to walk up here is because a few things. You want to go for the Q when you can get an angle of hitting the enemy. So you already know from the laning that this Yone likes to play very aggressive and likes to play far up in the lane, right?
Yeah. That's
And
what I also noticed, yeah.
yeah, that's just one thing that you can notice from watching how he plays. So you know he's going to walk up just to play aggressive for the sake of playing aggressive, but also your minion, your blue minion here, is starting to get low. Those two minions, right?
Yeah.
So it's very likely that pretty soon he's going to walk up. Yone is likely to walk up here to go for these minions. And since that minion is getting low too, you can just throw a Q to both hit the minion and hit Yone to do a little bit of his health bar. You know, I'm not sure if this is what you're trying to do or not, because it looks like you kind of go for that. But it seems like it. My guess would be that you just got you were just autopilot queuing to go for the minion and didn't really think about trying to hit him, but almost did, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And you know, you're right. You do have to play a little bit passive around his Q. It's a lot further. It goes a lot further than you expect. But you know, he just used his Q. Why not go for a Q on him? You know, he's going to go for this cannon, right?
Okay. You mean right after he uses his Q, I use my Q, right?
Yeah. So you want to go for trades when the enemy is on cooldown. Generally 2 times you want to trades. The first one is when they are going for CS. That's one we talked about earlier, right?
Right.
He was going for the farm, so he's going to be locked, standing still. He either goes for the farm, or he takes, or goes for the trade, right? And either way, you win because they miss the farm or they take free damage.
Yeah.
And for the second one is when their abilities are on cooldown. This is a very key point, because not only is he, you know he's going to go for cannon because he plays very aggressive. Obviously, he has the level 3 advantage over you, but he's playing very aggressive. But he's going to want to go for cannon. So that's number 1, check. He's going for CS. And number 2, he just used his Q.
Yeah.
So there's no reason not for you to walk up here and go for a quick little Q on him. You know, maybe you want to hit the minion, thin the wave a little bit before it goes to tower. But in terms of just trading, is what I'm going to focus on right here. See, you get him.
Yeah.
But I feel like you just kind of randomly went for it rather than thinking going through the process. He just used his ability. He's about to go for a farm. I can go for a Q. Also, one thing I would like to mention is there's a little bar here on your bottom right that fills up, and this shows you how close you are to leveling up.
Yeah.
Zed spikes really hard at level 3 and 6.
Yeah.
You know, when Zed gets his WEQ, you know, he gets really strong. When he gets his ult, he gets really strong. That's just something I would like to note. So like right here, he's walking up to zone you for no reason. Like you can just go for a WEQ, especially he just used his Q and he's still playing aggressive. There's no reason, nothing he can do to you, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
I don't know.
and instead you use your abilities to farm when he can't zone you, so you shouldn't really need to use your Q to farm. And if you do, you can use your WEQ to farm and try to hit him at the same time, if that makes sense.
Okay. Yeah. So, in this kind of situation, I should then prioritize to hit him, right?
Prioritize the farm, but try to hit him as well.
Okay, okay.
So like 90% of the time, I would say just focus on the guaranteed gold. But let's say you are about to hit level 6 here, right? Like we're just playing make pretend. If you're about to hit level 6 here and you can land that one Q on him, the WEQ, just to get him down to this health, I would say screw that one minion. You don't need that one farm because you're better off getting him into a range where if he gets into range for you to press R, he just dies.
Yeah.
But if he's full health, you know, it'll only do that much. It'll only get him down to like there, right?
Yeah.
It's not worth it. Just go for the guaranteed gold. But I would say focus on farming for the most part at this elo. Just kind of guaranteed gold. That's wrong. And then I also want to talk about that WEQ, which is Zed specific. Okay, so we'll go back and watch this WEQ again. And again, notice how this is very early in the game. We've been doing this for, what, 40 minutes or so, 30 minutes, and I'm still only 3 minutes in the game. There's lots of optimization. So right here, that's a good W.
Yeah.
This is a very good spot. You waited a quarter of a second. You have your Q here, and ideally, you would have, instead of walking back a little bit, you would be up here so it's easier to hit your Q. But right now, you know you can Q there, and you're going to hit him because you want to wait about a 0.15, 0.2 seconds before you throw your Q after you WE. Just because if you WE, their movement, it's very hard to predict if you press Q right away. So you wait very slightly and then Q. But right here, you wait too long. Notice how you wait, you walk around a little bit, and he's no longer slowed, so it's hard to hit both of them.
Yeah.
And you don't.
Yeah, I missed.
Yeah. So that just shows me that you didn't use your WEQ properly. You go for the... Again, right there, instead of standing here, if you stood here, you could try to Q and hit him as well. Right?
Yeah.
Again,
Yeah.
it's small, but it adds up. So, yeah. That's not bad. You see... that's not horrible. I don't like that W too much. That's not bad. Yeah, he's gonna die too.
Yeah.
Okay. So we'll go back and watch this again.
Was this horrible for me?
It wasn't horrible, but... So right now, you make it painfully obvious that you're about to get a gank for you from your Mundo, right?
Yeah, and yeah.
You make the gank. So right, what I'm saying here is you move too early. You engage, you walk up when you have no energy, you can't... Because right now, you know you don't have a lot of energy. Your combo is going to cost, what, 100? So that's 90, plus your Q is going to be 70. So 160 mana to use your entire combo. And you're only at 100, so you're not going to be able to combo him. You start walking up right now, right after throwing the Q. So you're not going to be able to do anything until your Q's up anyway. And Mundo's still kind of far away.
Yeah.
What I would recommend right here, if I were you, is I would start walking over this way.
Okay.
Because that will move Yone to... Generally, he'll want to play the other side of the lane, so Yone will move up here, closer to Mundo.
Yeah.
And instead of just walking up now, there's no reason to, like, show right now that you're going for a fight. Because you go right now... when you can't do anything and Mundo's still kind of far away.
Yeah.
Right? Also, you don't know where Graves is. I'll put the Fog of War on to blue. You don't know where he is. For all you know, he could be on this crab. He could be here. He could be here. He could be bot, but you don't know. So you should treat it as if it's very likely he is here. And again, you use your W just to run away because Yone's stupid, but like, if you waited another 2 seconds, you would have had more energy, possibly enough to WEQ. Your Q would have been up, and you wouldn't have taken extra damage from Yone.
Yeah, so in this kind of situations, I should then only wait when the jungler is nearby.
So wait till your jungler's... Again, this depends on the jungler champion. If that was Zac, it might have been a good idea, because Zac can engage from far away. Right?
Mm-hmm.
But... You want to wait until your key spells are up to engage or bait the fight.
Yeah.
And as a side note, make sure you have energy or mana.
Yeah.
For your combo, you know?
Yeah,
and again, I'm not sure if you have this. You should go to interface or whatever, show the mana, show spell cost, so that way you can quickly just calculate on the HUD here above your abilities where it'll be here, but over here it'll say this will cost 70, this will cost 40, this will cost 50. Quick math, and just say, oh, I need 160.
Yeah.
And then, so yeah, so you just, you should wait until you're a little bit your spells are up. So let's say you're playing a different champion that has crowd control, right?
Mm-hmm.
Imagine you're playing a Syndra and you don't have your E up for another 3 seconds. Right?
Yeah.
The replay file just kind of sucks. It takes a while sometimes to go, but Mundo wasted so much time just doing nothing here. That's really sucks. But see, your key ability, imagine your Syndra here and your E isn't up, which is Zed's Q is his main ability, his Q and his W.
Yeah.
And you have no energy. Imagine your Syndra, you're walking up into the enemy minions that we've already said are going to hit you a lot, hurt you a lot because you're fighting in minions, you're missing out on all this farm that's crashing in the wave, and you don't have your key abilities up. Right?
Yeah.
And your jungler is still way up here. So wait a little bit, not only because your jungler is not close, but you want to wait because, one, your spells are on cooldown.
Yeah.
You have little energy. You know, health is also something to consider. You're also not super high health. And now you have to, and remember, because you want to get away from him because you're like, oh crap, yeah, this was a bad idea, you need to just W away. You do a really bad W there, just to make sure you don't take too much damage.
Yeah.
The jungler is still far away, right?
Yeah.
And number 4. Yone's on bot side of lane. And Mundo ganking from top side. And Mundo has no gap closer.
Yeah.
So it's going to be very hard because remember, Yone was playing right here, very far downside, which is downscreen, which is he's up here. That's how far away Mundo is.
Yeah.
From when the fight engages. Whereas if you were to play on this side of the lane and Yone would be over here instead, Mundo would only be this distance, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which is a lot closer, so the fight would already be a lot easier. Right?
Yeah.
So it's just try to be a little bit more patient with ganks. You don't have to get too eager. Part of that's probably because you probably weren't too aware that you just saw the ping, so you decided to go in rather than...
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. And again, see, you took probably 300 extra damage here just from engaging too early. And you probably wouldn't have died. You see, you're still at 100 health. And again, obviously, ideally, if you knew how Graves worked, Q worked a little bit better, you would have been able to walk down this way and around the Q so you don't get hit by this. That's where the second part damages you, right?
Yeah.
And you would have enough health to not die if you didn't take that extra 200-300 damage earlier from that beginning part of the trade. Again, you can't control that your jungle played that poorly as well. But like, yeah. The wave is also in a very good spot for you because you're very lucky that Graves didn't shove this in all the way because it freezes. Right?
Yeah.
Oh, very unlucky it doesn't. It pushes back with him. But, yeah. So from that point on, at least you're trading and you're farming and whatnot. There's no reason to be playing so far back either. And you miss farm on top of that. You should also be worried that you don't know where Yone is and you don't know where Graves is. Okay, you give up that farm for no reason. See, again with that WEQ.
Yeah.
So You throw your W out here, right? The reason this is bad is because, yes, your W is only going to be around here.
Yeah.
But if he just walks straight back, your Q goes to about here. So he won't even, at worst case scenario for him, he only gets hit by one of your Qs, right?
Yeah.
And that's worst, and he can even try to dodge it. But he gets hit by an E and maybe one Q, but the reason it's so bad is because you're not, if you were here and you threw your W up here, you'd be a lot more likely to hit both of them.
Mm-hmm.
So just knowing when you can go for it is, again, you might be able to barely reach him with it, but you buffer, you waited too long to throw your Q, right? You don't want to throw WE and then immediately Q, but you don't want to do WE, wait a second or two, and then Q. You want to do somewhere in between so they're still slowed, but you have an idea of where they're going to try to dodge. Let's see this. He's going to get 6 here. Yeah. So he takes a tower shot, so that's good. So you should be very aware that you're not going to get 6 off that wave, but you're going to get 6 off this, probably this minion here. When this minion dies, you get level 6. And you should be thinking about that, and maybe you can go in and fight him as soon as you get level 6, right? And again, you're playing very passive for no reason. You're giving up a lot of farm.
Okay.
And that's very good. That was a very good combo. Well done. You waited a good amount of time and you were able to. So that was very well done. So right here, what I'm going to look at is what are items like? What is your item like versus his? And you know that he doesn't have his E up anymore. Okay. So, Yone's biggest thing is that was very bad spelling. Right? So Yone can mitigate Zettel with his E, right? Because he can kind of just run away from you and you just can't damage him.
Yeah.
I would like to see you go for, if you can play very aggressive, you know, unfortunately your W is on cooldown there, but you can try to go for an ult when his E is down or right when you know he's about to go back. Right? Because now he has no means of dodging any of your stuff.
Yeah.
He has his ult, so he can just ult out. Additionally, now there's also a fight breaking out down here, and Yone's going to move there. He's probably going to get 1 to 2 kills or assists. Your team definitely loses this fight. Yeah. Yone's probably going to get kills, and they'll get dragon. So this is also what happens when you give the Yone push. So remember when I said who gets prio in this lane? Right?
Yeah.
The reason this goes so poorly, because imagine if instead of Yone being able to move, you pushed Yone under tower, and then you were able to go to this fight.
Yeah, yeah. I understand.
You would be able to save Mundo, and not only that, you would be able to kill Graves. You have ult. You're a Zed at level 6. The Morgana's very squishy too. They have no summoners, they have no heal. No flash. Morgana has flash and ignite, but you'd be able to kill, probably, if you play this properly, you can get 2 kills. You might not be able to kill the Tristana, but you could probably...
Yeah.
But instead, Yone's gonna come and kill and you just say, oh, GG jungle gap because my Mundo into the Yone, but really you should have been able to have Yone push, and that should have been you roaming and getting the kill on the jungler.
Yeah, I know what you mean. But yeah, it's difficult. I don't know. I think against Yono is difficult. He makes so much damage.
Yeah, Yone's hard, and you just have to really play Zed a lot more to really understand how to play it, to get more used to it, and play against Yone a lot more, just to kind of have a better idea of how to play the matchup. But
yeah,
again, you're playing very passive for no reason. Like, yeah, you know that he might be here. Also, you shouldn't have a red trinket yet. Wait till at least 15 minutes in until you're starting to roam a lot more. But it's still laning phase. You need to have a yellow trinket to ward. Right? So if you had your ward out, you'd be able to ward here, and then you would see if Graves is ganking or not. Graves has just killed the jungler. He's likely going for dragon anyway. You should know that, but it's possible that the Morgana, since the Morgana is missing and so is Graves, that they're going to be coming around and ganking you. So I would play very safe. And when I say safe, I would save my W. I wouldn't use my W just in case they're coming to gank me. Because notice how now you can't really play up, because now you don't have flash, you don't have W. So if Morgana and Graves were coming to gank you, you would just die.
Yeah.
So, but you've given up a lot of farm for no reason. You're giving him a lot of prio for no reason. Speed up a little bit more. And just practicing your Zed combos a little more. That'll come in time playing it. So, I'm gonna look at this right now, and what I'm guessing is you're gonna want to reset here because you have 1,200 gold, right?
Yeah.
So before you reset, you know, while you were pushing that wave, I want you to think about something. You know, it's like, this is kind of like chess in a way, you know, chess, right?
Yeah, yeah.
If you play chess and you just play chess, like you're doing your one next move, you're gonna lose chess, right? Because the other person's gonna be thinking about, well, if I do this, this is what's gonna happen 6 moves from now, right?
Yeah.
While you're pushing this wave in, think about what your next move is gonna be. Should I reset? Where's my jungler? Is he just reset? Okay. Is top gankable? 0-2 Irelia versus Tryndamere with ult. That probably not gankable without Mundo.
Yeah.
Look at bot. You should know they don't have flashes. They're probably resetting, so again, you don't want to gank. You end up not wanting to roam there. But you're probably not looking and thinking about that, right?
No, I think about that. What's happening in the map? I didn't see my jungler in the map, any lane or any other lane that is gankable. That's why I made the decision to reset.
My guess is that you looked after you pushed the minion wave in though, but that's just a guess.
A summoner has reconnected.
That's good for you to bait his E out. Think 10 seconds you're gonna have ult. So right now, I would be playing pretty aggressively. I'm not sure his ult is his ult's a longer cooldown. I wasn't sure of that, but now we know that. So you're about to get your ult here. You should be playing really aggressive.
So his ult has more cooldown?
His ult is a longer cooldown.
Oh, okay.
Right now, I would probably just come immediately move and go for Graves. And you don't move at all.
No.
Instead, you go for some weird WEQ that's not going to work on him.
Yeah.
Right? Imagine if you just moved over and tried to help your Mundo. I mean, at this point, the game is just lost. You have a Mundo who's died to his camp, so your Irelia is 0-3. You know, your
Yeah.
bot lane's losing to the Tristana that keeps disconnecting. I mean, the game is over, like,
Yeah.
most likely.
That's what I also think in the game.
But, like, yes, the game's pretty much over, but you're not doing yourself that many favors, right?
You mean the mistakes that I made in the past? Or...
Yeah.
yeah.
Your biggest problem here is you just don't know how the lane is supposed to work. So... you don't really know how you're supposed to play the lane. If that makes sense, right?
Yeah.
You don't play around your item and level spikes. You know? That's your biggest problem if you ask me, because again, that it can be hard when you're new to the game to understand all of this.
Yeah.
But try to think in terms of kind of like a hypothesis. You know what that is, right?
Not exactly.
Okay. So, if I do X, what will the outcome be? What will be the outcome? Right? So, let's go back to the beginning of the lane. Right?
Okay.
So, if, in this case, it'll be if I do... if I play passive early, will that be good for you? Will that be advantageous? What is the outcome? Outcome is that Yone gets to free farm because he's getting to push in. He doesn't take any damage. So think about if I play passive early, the outcome is Yone got to free farm, right?
Yeah.
He was able to zone you from the tower and force you to farm under tower, and he was able to trade with you when you're not able to trade back, right?
Right.
And this also lets Yone scale freely. And we determine that this is bad because Yone's, you just know, you hear a lot of things about Yone having a bad early game and scaling really well, right? So you should be able to beat him early.
Mm-hmm.
And so let's figure out why this is bad. It means you don't get to punish Yone's weak early lane, and it lets Yone get prio when he shouldn't. And the reason that it was bad when he got prio when he shouldn't is, remember that time that he killed your jungler? He had prio when he shouldn't have prio. He was able to go roam and go to this fight when you should have been able to go to that fight. Because he doesn't have his abilities up, right?
Mm-hmm.
So without his abilities and when he has no abilities and when you have no abilities, he has 88 AD, you have 113 AD, your cooldowns are a lot lower, you have ult, your ult's more important and impactful than his. There's no reason that he should be able to freely push this lane in without you going up and contesting. I know you don't have your W up, but it's up soon. And his is still his E's still on a long cooldown, his W is still down for a while, right?
Yeah.
Just try to figure out, why did he have prio? You know, another small thing, just go to a trade. Think, I'm gonna go for this WEQ, right?
Yeah.
Why did this WEQ not work out? Maybe I used my Q too aggressively. I used it too early. Maybe I used it too late. Maybe my W was in the wrong spot. Maybe, you know, I did that pretty well. Yone just outplayed me. That's fine by me, but it just happened to not work out, you know?
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of up to you to figure that out for yourself, but try to think in terms of, especially when you're still new to the game, because there's still so much you're trying to learn, but try to think about, if I do X, what will the outcome be and why? Why was I right? Why was I wrong? It can be as simple as, if I use my WE here, if he's standing here and I use my W here, why did it not work out? Why did it work out? Right?
Yeah.
So I gotta get going shortly, but I just want to go over it a little bit more. One more time. So one thing that I think you can, here, let me just do this. So a bit of a recap here.
Mm-hmm.
Is your farm is pretty low most games. You give up a lot of farm that you shouldn't be. So just try to focus on that. Again, your issue that you think is the biggest problem, I don't think this is really something that you should consider too much until you're at least gold at a minimum. Probably even platinum is about after the laning phase, just because your laning phase, my laning phase is still not very good, and I've multi-time been diamond, right? And my laning's not amazing, and there's still a lot I need to get better at, right? And I think the laning is the thing that's going to be consistently very similar every single game. So that's what I would recommend you focus on, is your laning rather than your mid game. You should play proactively. Try to, again, rather than autopiloting and just doing whatever, using your WEQ whenever you want, or autopilot, oh, the Yone is playing aggressive, so that means I need to play passively. Well, why are you doing that? Is there a reason you're doing it? Like, oh yeah, because he wins the fight early? Or is it because, oh, yeah, sure, I just thought he's playing aggressive, so he probably knows better than me, so I'm gonna play passive, right?
Okay.
Know when you can play aggressive, play around your level spikes and your item spikes, obviously, too. And again, with the trading, very important. Trade when they're going for farm, and trade when their abilities are cooldown. You will win the fight, because if they're going when they're trading minions, again, remember the 4 or 5 outcomes. Either they go, you zone them from the minion, you get damage on them for no reason. Most likely is you're going to damage them and they're going to damage you, but they miss the minion. And again, think about that in terms of who has more sustain and who wins the trade. Generally,
Okay.
it's good to force them to go for a trade instead of the minion as Zed, because you'll have a lot of sustain with Taste of Blood and your health bots, but that depends on the matchup. You'll get better at that as you play Zed more and into more champions. And again, when the enemy skills are on cooldown, you can go for a trade because they have a lot less damage because their abilities are down. Use your Q when you can hit the enemy and try to get the farm. There are a few times where you just kind of mindlessly went for the farm and didn't realize, oh, I could also try to hit Yone here too. Right?
Yeah.
Okay, prioritize farming mostly, but if you know you can get them in lethal, sometimes try to just go for the... If you know you can't get the farm or you can get them in lethal, like in a range where you will be able to kill them shortly, go for the trade, but generally you want to go for the farm. And again, with the WE combo, you generally want to WE wait slightly and then Q. So it gives you time to figure out how they're trying to dodge, but also they're still slowed.
Yeah.
This is pretty situational, but you can read up on that on your own time. But just remember, notice you don't want to go in for the trade when your abilities are still on cooldown and you don't have energy. And one thing I would really recommend doing, if you have trouble with a lane,
Yeah.
go to type Zed versus Yone. Go to YouTube.
Mm-hmm. Some videos are very old. I think I cannot
Yeah.
consider them, right?
Some of them, yeah, but just say this is 6 months ago. I mean, it's still going to be pretty good. It's unfortunately, Laceration doesn't do his whole gameplay. He just does highlights a lot of the time. Same with Stylish. But go to this. This is a month ago. Just go to this. See. This is how Z99 plays a matchup. Just go through. See how Z99, who's a high challenger Korean one-trick Zed, plays very aggressive level 1 compared to how you did.
Okay.
Notice how he Qs to hit the minion and Yone here.
Right. Yeah.
He went and moved up after Yone used his Q, so Yone's Q is still on cooldown. It'll be back up around now, so now he has to play a little bit more safe. He goes for the Q roughly when Yone's going for the auto on the minion. He ends up not landing it, but the idea was there. But notice how he goes for the minion after Yone used his Q.
Yeah.
If Yone Qs the minion, Z99 is going to look to play aggressive here because Yone is going to go for this minion because it's getting low. So he's knowing that I can go for a Q when he goes for that minion. Right?
Yeah.
So you can just go and watch and see how do challenger players, master players, play this matchup. You know, Yone has level 2 first. Maybe Yone does have a better level 1 than Zed. I haven't played the matchup a lot, but he's getting a stat farm. Oh, no, he doesn't. You know, you can just go and watch this for any matchup you have trouble with.
Yeah.
Right. So that's something I would just consider. So, do you have any questions with anything?
No, I think I understood.
Okay. Well, let me know how everything goes. If you have any other questions later on, if you have any
Okay.
questions at all, or comments or anything, or any.
Yeah.
If you want to know how you're doing, we can do another session in about a month after you've played a bit more Zed or so.
Okay.
You know.
That's cool.
But yeah, hopefully that helps you a lot.
That's it. It's helpful, right?
Yeah, just I'd say really focus on your laning.
Yeah.
And I'll send you this notepad
Yeah.
as well.
It's would be great.
Yeah.
Thank you very much then.
Yeah,
Thank
of
you.
course. Happy to help. I hope it all went well. Just let me know how you're progressing as well.
Yeah.
But again, yeah, just really think about how you're supposed to play the lane, how it's supposed to go out, and why you're doing something rather than autopiloting. All right.
All right. Thank you very much.
Yeah, no worries. Have a great day. Great night,
You
I
too.
guess. All right. Bye.
Yeah.